Have you ever wondered why the jails and prisons are so overcrowded? And have you ever wondered what exactly it is costing us taxpayers to incarcerate these individuals? Hello, my name is Michael Fossier, and today I will be discussing why exactly the jails and prisons are so overcrowded and what is the cost to us taxpayers. You may ask, what does it mean to me for these jails and prisons to be overcrowded? Well, what it means to you is an increase in our tax that we're consistently paying out to keep these individuals behind bars. Truth be told, the United States is the #1 country in incarcerating individuals. The approach that our legislation forces us to take is essentially an approach that doesn't include really rehabilitation, but rather incapacitation. What that means is anytime that a crime is committed, we strictly seek to incapacitate the individual by way of incarcerating them as opposed to trying to get to the root of the problem and helping the individual. Roughly, there is 1 in 100 adults that are incarcerated at this current moment. That may not seem like a lot, but whenever you get to adding up, the millions of people in the United States, that number ends up being quite a big number of people. Uh, some reasons why these numbers are so high is things such as the three strike laws. States such as California, among others, have adopted these laws, and what those are is laws in which if an offender commits 3 felonies, no matter how serious or how minor they may be, whenever that third felony is committed, there is a mandatory sentence that criminal is subjected to, and whether they be violent crime or non-violent crime, that makes no difference whatsoever. Another reason for these overcrowding in our jails and prisons is the war on drugs. Uh, there's a lot of varying opinions on this issue. However, facts are the facts, and 50% of the prison and state inmates around the country are there because of drug offenses. And this could be something as simple as someone getting pulled over and having a very small amount of drugs in their vehicle strictly for personal use, or this could include, of course, your drug dealer, uh, who has very large amounts and plans on selling and distributing those drugs. I see a big problem with that in that I don't feel that the drug offenders who, how should I say this, who perhaps casually use or perhaps are arrested for, say, driving without a license and their very small amount of drugs is found either on their property or on their person, I don't feel that they should be subjected to the same charges and to the same mandatory sentences as someone who is found to have large amounts of drugs and are distributing those drugs. Just some stats to throw out there to you. As I stated earlier, roughly 50% of the state and federal prison population is made up of drug offenses. That's 50%. On down the line, the next highest offense on that list is immigration. Those arrested for immigration offenses makes up roughly 10% of the prison population. Moving on to sexual offenses, those make up roughly 6% of the prison population. Now, property crimes, which includes robbery, armed robbery, theft by unlawful taking, anything like that, makes up 4% of the prison population, while homicide and kidnapping make up less than 3%. So it's not the violent, as you would say, hardcore criminals, such as homicide and sexual offenses, that are the reason why the jails and prisons are overcrowded. It's mainly because of the war on drugs. And as I stated, the war on drugs is targeting every person who is known to have drugs on them, from the very petty drug offenses up to the very serious ones. Now on to the cost of keeping these inmates housed in prisons. It is stated that nearly $25,000 per year per inmate is what is required to keep inmates housed in the federal prison system. Moving on, it is roughly $23,000 is the cost of keeping a state prison inmate behind bars per year. That's roughly $23,000 per one inmate. That averages out to about $68 per day for one federal inmate and $62 per day per state prison inmate. Now, there's other ways to get around this the situation of the overcrowding of the jails and prisons. One of which I'm an advocate of, is the use of probation. I feel like probation is a very useful tool. For some of the violent crimes or some of the more serious crimes, you can go with supervised probation. And of course, for some of the less violent or actually non-violent crimes, you can go with unsupervised probation. The cost difference is significant when comparing probation to incarceration. It costs roughly $3,500. That's $3,500 per inmate, or should I say per individual, to have them on probation, and that is supervised probation. That averages out to roughly $9.90 per day per individual to be on probation. Now that $9.90 per day is a big difference between from the $68 for federal inmates and $62 for state inmates to keep them in prison. I feel like that this cost is significant because over the course of the year, you're looking at only $3,600 to supervise someone on probation, as opposed to nearly $25,000 to keep them behind bars. And you wonder, well, who's paying that? Well, it's us taxpayers that's paying that, and that's a big problem. With budgets, federal budgets, state budgets that are constantly in the red, looking for things to cut. It's because of keeping these individuals in prison that our vital services get cut often. You'll see layoffs in police and fire. You'll see cuts in critical areas when a lot of that expense is actually incurred through keeping these individuals in prison. And now you might think that letting some of these individuals out of prison on parole or probation is going to up the amount of crime, but that is not how the trend usually goes. However, as I stated, my position on the issue is, as I said, I'm a strong advocate of probation, supervised or unsupervised, depending on the level of the crime committed, because that keeps our budget down, that keeps our tax dollars being paid toward inmates significantly down, and therefore our tax dollars can be used for more important things, such as added personnel on the police departments, fire departments, things of that nature.